Alright guys, this is part 2 of the discussion about the new MRT systems with Bryce here. And he's going to go farther into a couple new things that they changed up. They changed the bubble a little bit. He's going to go in farther into shooting the MRT system. And then also he's going to touch on a few techniques and really what the MRT system does compared to, say, the retina lock out there. So enjoy, and I do apologize about the wind. My shotgun mic's broken. It was the best we could do. So here you go.
So one other thing that we did change on this new pin guard this year is we changed the level. We went to a larger level, so it's a little more visible, and it went to a little faster level. Some people liked our slower levels, some people didn't. We had actually more people, I think, that didn't really like the slow levels. The faster the level is, the more precise it's going to be. It's a little bit more finicky, but it's going to make sure that you're not, you're looking at your target, you're aiming, oh, my bubble's good, you go back to executing, and the bubble moves so slow that you're off before the shot breaks. Right. Having a little faster, bigger level is easier to see, and it's more precise. The other thing that we do at Spot Hogg, that as far as I know, don't quote me on this, some other companies might do it, but as far as I know, nobody else presets the level from the factory. Our levels are preset to the wire and to the surface that it actually mounts to from the factory. So you never have to worry about the level not being square to your sight pins and the wire. Obviously with our sights are micro-adjustable left and right, but we have the wire there as a reference both for aiming and for setting the pins. And our levels are perfectly trued up to that wire before they leave the factory on every one of our multi-pin sights.
And that's just to make it easier on,
that's
on
just
the new
to make
guys.
it's make it easier on the consumer. These ones do have screws. We do fill in the screw heads so people don't mess with them. They are Loctited together because we set them from the factory. Okay. There is zero reason to adjust or move or touch these screws or the level. Everything's pre-squared up. We actually use a jig where we square it up in the third axis as well.
Really?
So basically this surface that the pin guard mounts to the sight with is squared up so it can tilt in relation to that surface, and that bubble will not move once it's squared up. So what that does is it just makes setting your third axis, your second axis, everything else that much easier. And on our other sights that don't have the second, third axis adjustment, like the grinders, that you don't have the ability to adjust it, they're going to be really, 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 really close from the factory because we square everything up from the get-go. And I don't believe, like I said, any other sight company does that but Spot Hogg. We put the extra time, effort, money in our assembly process to make sure that that's good to go from the get-go.
Yeah, and I've been to your guys' shop, and just as you walk into the front office there, you have like 2 tables of mostly girls just putting the sights together and stuff like that, and it's really impressive how fast. I took mine in there one time because I broke my sight. It wasn't the sight's fault. I over-adjusted it and snapped the screw. And within 5 minutes, they had me out of there for free.
They're very
fast.
efficient.
Really, really cool people.
They got a little mad at me this year because I completely redesigned their pin guards, and so they had to learn a new pin guard to assemble.
I will tell you one feature that I greatly appreciate, and I don't know if I would have switched to it if you guys wouldn't have done it, but I was shooting with a gentleman today, a friend of mine, and he had the bar. It's instead of having the style where you guys use the Hogg style, it's a bar that goes across here, and it can go like this and go in and out. And I feel like I have more stability and more control of that thing not moving with this thing. I feel like it's tougher.
Very solid. The other thing we did with this new MRT guard is we brought out a new spacer here. Our old Hogg, it's basically you had to be on one side of the micro adjuster the other.
I remember that, yep.
And basically there's certain bows that you'd be maxed out to the left or maxed out to the right.
My Halon.
And you were one or the other, and if you had to go a little bit the other way, you had to flop it over. Well, with this new spacer, you not only have more left arm adjustment than what you initially had before, you also have that in between. So there's no more dead space. You can be basically very close to the middle of your micro adjust on all of our sites and not have to worry about it.
Okay.
So that was another thing that we addressed that some people, it wasn't an issue because you could get it sighted in, but it was tight. I mean, if your center shot was just in the right spot, it was kind of a pain in the butt because you were right on the ragged edge of being out of your micro adjust one way or out of it the other way.
I noticed that, and when I was setting up my fast Eddie from a guy that's shot fixed pins his whole life, I thought it was extremely, extremely easy. Now, I was comparing this to another site, the MRT system, and there's another system out there called the IQ retina lock. Now, what would this be compared to that?
It's a slightly different system. The retina lock takes into account bow torque and stuff like that, and it is a really good system, especially for entry-level archers that don't know their grip very well. They're learning their grip, they're learning to shoot consistently. It's a great entry-level system that works well, and there's a lot of top-end target shooters and hunters that use it as well.
Right.
It's a good feature, but it's a little bit different because it takes your peep and your pin alignment, your bow torque, and it kind of all combines it into one. And you can torque the bow over, or say someone doesn't shoot a peep at all, or say they shoot a bigger peep, and they see a lot of room around the outside. Well, you can torque your bow a little bit and be off center your peep and still have your retina lock being dead on, even though you're not where you should be. So it's not a perfect system. Not saying the MRT is a perfect system either.
I feel like it really helps with the head position and everything.
There's a little difference. Now, one thing I like to do with my MRT system, because the rings, there's multiple rings, on my particular bows, I actually look where either the riser is or the cables are in relation to my rings when I'm at full draw. And it gives me an indicator on how much I'm torquing the bow. So if I push some outside torque, I will see less rings behind my cables on my bow sight.
Okay.
Or if I push on the inside, I'll see more rings because it'll actually come out away.
So that's a really good tip. I've never thought about that.
I actually use the rings on my sights, whether it's my hunting bow, whether it's my target bow. I actually use my cables or my riser, whichever one sits in farther, and my rings, and I get a relationship between those two to help me manage and pay attention to my bow torque, my grip torque. And it really comes into effect, especially if you're shooting a freestyle setup or you have a sidebar on your bow. If you got weight hanging off the side of your bow and you start shooting a real steep uphill shot, all that weight on the left side of your bow pulls your bow this way. So it actually throws your third axis and stuff off because you've got extra weight hanging off the side.
That's a good point.
And by looking at the rings, I'm able to see that and put a little more grip pressure to keep everything the same as if I was shooting on flat ground.
See, I never thought about using the sight like that, and I'm glad you brought that up. So, first of all, sorry about that, guys. So, first of all, in order to do that, you need to know on flat ground, and then you know that your form and everything's perfect, your grip's perfect.
And it works on flat ground too, because I mean, you get up here and you're standing in an awkward situation, or even shooting on side hills or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, every shot needs to be exactly the same to hit the same exact spot and to be consistent. Your grip's got to be the same, your anchor point's got to be the same, your peep and your housing have to be lined up exactly the same. Everything's got to be the same. And any little thing you can do to try to make it that much more consistent and have a check, so to speak, you know. I have a system when I'm going through my shot sequence of, you know, I hold the bow like this, I hook my release on this, I draw it back, I check my square, I check my grip torque, I'm checking all these little things, and it's the same every single time. It's any little thing you have that can help you do it the same every single time is going to make you a better shooter.
Absolutely.
And being able to kind of pay attention to where my cables will line up with my rings or my sight. And it works better with the sights that stick out farther, like the Hoggets, if you have them out, the Fast Eddie XL or the Hogfather, or any of those sights that your housing sticks out farther. The farther out it is, the more touchy it's going to be, so to speak, as far as being able to see the differences. Where if you take a bow that's got the sight, you know, really, really close to your riser, and you torque it, it's not going to move as much as one that's way out there farther. So it's kind of just an extra check for me to see how my grip is when I'm shooting. And to make sure that it's where it needs to be, where it's supposed to be.
So, well, there you have it, guys. That's a tip from an engineer, if you couldn't tell. So, I think that was a really good idea, and thanks for sharing that with us. Is there anything else that, as a consumer, somebody that's thinking about buying these sights, that they would need to know before they make that purchase?
Not really. I mean, the biggest thing with the MRT system is to make sure you set it up properly. If you set it up like you set up most other sights, where you see all of the rings through your peep, it's overwhelming. And it can get, you know, to be too much going on out there. And I think most of the people that don't like the MRT rings set them up that way.
Really?
I mean, it's not. I'm not saying that everyone's going to love it, because everybody's a little bit different how they shoot.
I personally won't go back. It's been that big of a game changer.
But once you get it set up right, it's not overwhelming, because you only see that inside ring for most of your shooting. And it's only when you get into low light situations that you start seeing more rings. So if you set it up so in bright light you see all the rings, then you go into low light and you see even more outside the rings, I can see how that could be very overwhelming. especially because they're real bright and they give you that good contrast.
I can see that.
But you need to have it set up so your peep is only on the rings. You do not see any light on the outside.
That's a good point.
So once you see all that extra rings, it does get overwhelming.
So a little bit off topic, but I do get a lot of questions and I see a lot of confusion. When are the double pointers coming out for the other sides?
To be determined. Hopefully this next year.
Sorry guys, I tried.
Hopefully this next year we will have it out. We've been playing with it, but we need to get caught up on getting product out that we have orders for now before we put all of our efforts into.
That's fair.
So it's in the works. It is coming. It's not ready yet.
Be patient.
So it is coming
You heard the
for
man.
the Hogfather and the Tommy Hog. It's going to be coming out eventually. If you've called and talked to our sales reps, they've told you it's coming, but it's going to be a bit yet. It's probably not going to come out until ATA show this next year. Most likely. It could come out earlier. Don't hold your breath for it.
So, well, there you go, guys. I had to put that little in there for you because I know a lot of you have been asking. But again, this is Garrett, and I have Bryce with me from Spot Hogg, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.